Hey everyone, it's Pete Toll, aka PT Sports 84, taking you around the NBA, recapping a historic night in the NBA. I want to say it's the first time that I've ever seen, at least, and basically all 30 NBA teams are playing. 15 games on the schedule last night for November the 7th, 2022. Today is Tuesday, November the 8th, 2022. So jumping right into the games. First up, we had the Washington Wizards defeat the Charlotte Hornets 108 to 100. Charlotte started out really well on the season. It looked like Steve Clifford had these guys renewed, and then injuries hit. You had first LaMelo Ball obviously not being able to play. Terry Rozier was out for a good bit. Now Gordon Hayward is out for who knows how long with his shoulder. Um, Washington looked good in this one. As far as not having Bradley Beal, I mean they played as a team, um, getting good play. Surprisingly, in this one, this is who I kind of wanted to highlight. Um, Most people probably wouldn't know who he is, but he was really good last year in the G League. Jordan Goodwin. He's more actually a point guard than a shooting guard. He had played shooting guard earlier in the season because Corey Kispert was out with injury. Now that Corey Kispert's back, he kind of took that starting role for the injured Beal. So Goodwin's actually playing the backup point guard role. He had 17 points to go with 5 assists. I was actually really impressed the little bit that I watched because I was trying to flip around different games. A little bit that I watched of Jordan Goodwin, but 7 for 7 from the field. He's definitely, if you watch him, he has some good intangibles that can keep him on the floor. He's able to score off the dribble a little bit, and he can also facilitate if need be. So it's kind of a different look to Monte Morris filling in for DeLon Wright. Definitely, I think Jordan Goodwin is a keeper as a third point guard for the team. But looking at kind of how things went for Washington, Kyle Kuzma, 20 points to go with 6 rebounds. He's been really efficient this year. Kristaps Porzingis had a pretty, I would call, easy matchup. 19, 8, and 5 for him. Obviously, Beal did not play in this one. Corey Kispert, as I mentioned, started at the two guard spot. He actually shot it decent, had 8 points, 3 for 4 from the field. He's still kind of getting back into rhythm from injury. But what was interesting is Denny Otby is back in the starting lineup in this one. Anthony Gill back to the bench. Essentially, Rui Hachimura is the backup small forward, which I really liked. He's been efficient off the bench so far this year. He had 16 points, which really kind of helped them, 50% from the field. So, one thing to note, Jordan Goodwin is playing over Johnny Davis. Johnny Davis looked okay in his last game for the Capital City Go-Go. Finally felt comfortable out there, I think, just based on what I saw of the highlights. I didn't watch the game, but I saw the highlights of him because I try to keep track of everybody. But I don't think Johnny Davis is ready for the speed of the NBA quite yet. Looking at the Charlotte Hornets, they did not have LaMelo Ball, of course. They didn't have Gordon Hayward. So they looked kind of for a balanced effort. PJ Washington has been really killing it. PJ Washington, if he does not go up in the next roster update, I would be surprised. He's been really efficient this year. For some reason, Kelly Oubre went down in the last update. Wasn't really sure why he went down. I would have kind of left him as is because there was a ton of other players they left alone. Um, PJ Washington had 25 and 4. Kelly Oubre had 20 points as well. And then Terry Rozier is back healthy for them, playing the two guard spot off the ball. Had 19 points. Didn't shoot it the greatest. And I think a lot of his shots were forced from what I could see early on. So he just never could get into a rhythm. Dennis Smith Jr. finally struggled in a game 1 for 11 shooting. Unfortunately, 3 points, but he was able to facilitate with 10 assists and 5 rebounds. Another decent game. If you look at James Bouknight, off the bench as far as, mid-level scoring, he's not going to be a double-digit guy every night. This is not kind of what his game has looked like so far in the NBA. But I'll take the 7 points to chip in off the bench. Nick Richards, um, 8 points off the bench as well to go with 6 rebounds. And then Jalen McDaniels, 9 points to go with 7 rebounds as well. So Charlotte, they just need to get healthy, and then we could see what they could do. Personally, if it was me, Mason Plumlee would not be starting. I would go with Nick Richards and then bring Plumlee off the bench, but maybe they're going for the spark that Richards is able to give off the bench in limited minutes, more so than trying to start him. Next game is the Houston Rockets defeat the Orlando Magic. This was a back and forth game with Jalen Green versus Paolo Banchero, for sure. Jalen Green has really been struggling shooting the ball, but in this one he was ultra efficient, 12 of 18 from the floor, 5 for 11 from 3, 34 points. So it kind of made up for the lack of shooting in the last couple games. Alperen Sengun, 20 and 10. Really, I am really high on Sengun. Like, I think he's really a piece. A guy I'm not high on, Jabari Smith Jr. takes way too many jump shots. I wanted to like Jabari coming in. I was like, okay, he's going to Houston. I would have probably liked him a little bit better if him and Paolo had swapped spots. But I can't like a big that's 6'10", 6'11", jump shooting constantly, and he's not efficient with it. He takes a lot of bad shots that are forced. Like, I don't know what else to say with him than you got to get in and bang and get some easy baskets inside, then take your game outside. Kevin Porter Jr., 17 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists. He's looked really good this season. He did go up in the last update. I expect him to go up a little more. Sengun as well. Jabari Smith should go down. He should be around the 76 range, and really kind of take a hit if he continues to play poorly. Eric Gordon, not sure why he went down. I mean, he's just an efficient veteran. Like, you could have kept him around a 76 and been okay with that. The problem is they have other guys rated too low, so bumping Gordon down makes it look better as far as a roster balance with the ratings, when in reality you should be upping guys like Kenyon Martin Jr., who had 21 4 and 5 rather. Tari Eason did go up. Eason's been just electric off the bench, grabbing rebounds, playing defense, scoring in transition. He actually hit 2 threes in this one, which was really good to see. Kind of his shooting stroke go in. Usman Garuba, the stats don't pop off the page, but just his rebounding, getting better at timing on defense, overall has been an improvement for him. Daishawn Nix didn't get an update last game either, even though he's in the rotation. They can at least kind of go through and rate him appropriately, even if it's not a huge bump, like maybe to a 68 or something. At least kind of clean him up based on him actually getting playing time, since last year he really did not. Now over to Orlando. Orlando's interesting because they have kind of this unique lineup because of their injuries. So Suggs is essentially the point guard, which in the next update they'll have to switch his position. Franz Wagner is the 2, which they'd have to switch him. And then 2K decided to switch the position for Chuma Okeke to power forward, but they didn't switch Bol Bol to small forward. Essentially, Bol Bol's the small forward on offense, and defense he's the power forward. And then other way around for Paolo Banchero. Banchero handles the ball a lot, so I could see where 2K can make the argument that, hey, he's the small forward and Bol Bol is the power forward, but I think it's the other way around if you watch the matchups, the way things go throughout the game. But Banchero, 30 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He's been really, really good overall. I was surprised, even though I'm a huge Duke fan, I was surprised how fast he's gotten acclimated to the league. I thought he would struggle a little bit, but definitely not so far. Wendell Carter Jr., 15 and 7. He's efficient throughout. He went down 2 points in the last update, and I didn't agree with that. I would have left him alone. Franz Wagner definitely needs to go up in rating. I think both him and Carter need to go up in the next update for sure. He had 23, 5, and 7. He's ultimately the backup point guard behind Suggs. When they switch out the lineups, Bol 9 points for him. He didn't really shoot that much. Had 5 of his points from free throws. And Jalen Suggs has looked a lot better as a point guard. He had 11, 5, and 6. Only 2 turnovers for him, which is good because that's kind of the troubling spot for him. And then Mo Bamba ends up with 14 off the bench to go with 4 rebounds. And Terrence Ross came back from injury, 21 points for him. He's basically out there to be a scorer for sure. Kevon Harris, even though he didn't do much in this game, he definitely will have to go up in the next update again. They bumped him a little bit in the last update. I think he's going to have to go up a little bit more. He's kind of a hybrid small forward, shooting guard, point guard. He can play all 3 positions. So he's definitely somebody that the Magic like so far coming off the bench. But Houston takes this one 134-127. Next game, the Oklahoma City Thunder get another win. They rally from 16 down, or the Pistons, rather, I'm sorry, rally from 16 down to defeat the Thunder. I like what I saw from OKC for the most part, is why I bringing them up first. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, been killing it this year, 33, 7, and 5. You can make a case that he's ultimately the point guard. Giddey's the 2 guard. I like to leave Giddey at the point guard spot because ultimately he's essentially, because he's taller than Lou Dort, he's essentially the small forward. So he can kind of play a point hybrid role throughout. But Dort struggled shooting, 7 points, 3 of 12 shooting. They've been playing Jalen Williams as a starting power forward, which is interesting since Jalen Williams is kind of like an all over the court. He can play pretty much 4 positions on the court. Jeremiah Robinson Earl started again at center, 7 and 4 for him, not much. The bench, it's a mixed bag. Pokashevsky didn't play in this one, so they went with Mike Muscala as the backup center. Darius Baisley off the bench, 8 points. Muscala had 11, and then Kendrick Williams had 11 as well in the loss. Then we've got the Detroit Pistons, who rallied in this one. Saddiq Bey, 25 points. I'm not the hugest Saddiq Bey fan, but he looked, decent aside from the 3-point shooting in this one. 25 and 5 for him. 12 points for Bojan Bogdanovic. 11 for Beef Stew to go with 12 rebounds. 15 points from Jaden Ivey to go with 11 rebounds, 6 assists. And then also Cade Cunningham, 21, 11, and 7. So definitely huge contribution from the backcourt overall. Hamidou Diallo came off the bench, finally played some minutes, 11 points. Killian Hayes had some efficient plays as a point guard off the bench. Obviously, he never shoots it that great, but looked good there. I don't know. Somebody killed me in the comments. I don't know if it's livers or livers. I've heard it said both ways. So I'm going to say livers / livers. I'm not sure which one it is. He had 5 and 5 off the bench. I like him moving forward as a piece for this team. And then lastly, Jalen Duren. I like him as the backup center. 7 points, 4 rebounds for him. Obviously, he's not going to get a huge role on this team with Cade and Jaden Ivey, but does his job efficiently. Next up, the New Orleans Pelicans took on the Indiana Pacers. You would think, looking at it on paper, that the Pelicans would have ended up winning this game. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. The Indiana Pacers win 129-122. New Orleans Pelicans get a good effort out of Zion Williamson, 26, 7, and 7. He's been really good this year. He's going to have to go up in rating in the next update. Brandon Ingram as well. They both probably need to go up a point, so 88 for Williamson. Ingram gets 87. Um, so 29 points, 6 rebounds for Brandon Ingram. Valanciunas, inefficient, 7 for 9 from the field for 14.7 rebounds as well. Herb Jones chipped in 16 points as the two guard, 7 of 12 from the field. And then CJ McCollum was the one that struggled ultimately in this one. Only 3 for 11 from the field to go with 5 rebounds, 7 assists. Jose Alvarado struggled from the floor, shot at 0 for 5. Trey Murphy's been really efficient in this one. He went up in the last update. I'm super high on this one. Um, and I think he's just a good piece as a six man for sure. Devontae Graham does his usual 3-point shooting, and that's about all you're going to get from Devontae Graham, but he chipped in 11 points, to say the least. The Pacers started Andrew Nembhard at the two guard spot. Andrew Nembhard played the point guard most of his time in college, so it's interesting he's kind of playing off the ball in the NBA quite a bit. Nembhard had 15 and 5. Tyrese Halliburton, efficient as always, 20 and 13. That 13 assists is going to get him looked at. He could possibly be an all-star if he keeps rolling like this in the Eastern Conference. Miles Turner, breakout game for him, finally feeling comfortable. 37 points to go with 12 rebounds. I would not be shocked to see him go up just a smidge in the next ratings update. Jalen Smith finally got around to scoring the ball. 15 points, 11 rebounds for him, 6 for 11 from the floor. Buddy Hield, another good outing for him, 20 points for him. Obviously, you know what you're going to get, 3-point shooting, shot making, not much defense from him, but you don't really need it with the shooting. And then Ben Mathurin finally had one of his worst games, 2 for 8 from the floor, 1 for 6 from the field. Had 5 assists, but he only had 8 points and 4 turnovers. That's not going to get it done. Everybody struggles in different games, so he finally struggled in one after his ultra hot start. Next up, my 76ers get a win. They blitz the Phoenix Suns 100 to 88. Tobias Harris, 21 points in this one. Finally glad to see Tobias step up. He had 21, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Joel Embiid, 33, 10, and 5. It's amazing. So when Embiid plays and Harden sits, it's a totally different offense. And Embiid's able to get going and all this stuff. Like, it's just different. We'll see what happens when he gets back. Tyrese Maxey struggled from the floor in this one, but who did not struggle from the floor was Georges Niang. 21 points, 7 for 10 from 3. Even James Harden tweeted out in support of him how good he looked. D'Anthony Melton started this one. He got into foul trouble, only had 6.7 rebounds. Was out there for defense, but like I said, got into foul trouble, wasn't able to do a ton, to say the least. Again, in this one to note, off the bench, Daniel House didn't play. I believe he was injured. So Matisse Thybulle got those minutes, didn't do much with it, only got 10 minutes off the bench. I will say this, if Doc Rivers continues to play these guys, running them in the ground, it's not going to be good for late in the season. Joel Embiid should not be playing 37 minutes coming back from injury. Maxey plays almost 41 minutes. Like 38 minutes for Tobias Harris. Like, you got to rest these guys and play your bench some, or upgrade your bench if you're not happy with who you got. Phoenix Suns side of things, looking at it, obviously Devin Booker, always there in the scoring column, 28 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Chris Paul ends up going out early, so didn't play much. I think that was the difference maker for them, because then comes Cam Payne, and the team's totally different with Cameron Payne. 14 points off the bench, 5 assists. They just run differently, in my opinion. Didn't get much else from the bench. Damian Lee, 10 points. He's going to give you the shooting. he needs to go up in the next update as well because he's been ultra efficient throughout. But what's hurting them is Cam Johnson's now out with the torn meniscus. They're not playing Jay Crowder. So then their combo of Torrey Craig and minimal minutes for Dario Saric is not going to work. It's not going to get them wins. Yes, you got DeAndre Ayton with 14 and 7, but for whatever reason, Monty Williams just doesn't want to utilize him as kind of like the go-to guy in the paint. So it's interesting. This one was an interesting one. The Atlanta Hawks snap the 9-0 start by the Milwaukee Bucks. They get a win without Trae Young. Trae Young sat this one out. DeJounte Murray started at the point guard spot, 25, 8, and 11 for DeJounte. He should definitely go up in the next update. He's been really good this season. Aaron Holiday got the start at the 2 guard, didn't do much, 4 and 5 for him. Didn't shoot it, much. John Collins, 14 points, didn't really rebound it at all, which I was kind of surprised. But Clint Capella picks up 12 rebounds to go with 5 points. And then DeAndre Hunter struggled as well. 10 points, didn't shoot it the greatest, 6 rebounds. But the breakout game came from A.J. Griffin, who would definitely have to go up in rating. 10 from 15 from the floor, 24 points. He showed you why he was what he was drafted for with the shooting. And he could play some defense. So I like him as a piece. It's going to be interesting to see if he pops out of the rotation or it's going to be Justin Holiday for when Bogdan Bogdanovic comes back from injury. The Milwaukee Bucks actually got a good effort from Giannis, as always. Drew Holiday, 16 points as well. Giannis had 25. But then your bench is kind of where the trouble was. Only Bobby Portis Jr. in double figures with 11 and 10. Grayson Allen started again at small forward. Didn't shoot at the greatest, had 11 points. And then you didn't get much offense out of Javon Carter. They've got to figure out when they're going to get Chris Middleton back as far as everybody getting on the same page. But they are winning, so I don't think that there's a rush to get him or Pat Connaughton back so quickly. They want to make sure they heal for the later season run. But definitely was surprised that the Hawks snapped Milwaukee's win streak. Another guy coming back from injury who's been really good this season is Damian Lillard. The Portland Trailblazers beat the Miami Heat 110-107. Buzzer-beating 3 by Josh Hart from the corner. Really cool to see that. Josh Hart's been ultra efficient. 12, 9, and 8 for him. He's just kind of the jack of all trades. Jeremy Grant's been a huge addition, probably one of the bigger additions for the offseason. He should go up in the next ratings update, I think. What's up, Kerry? What's up, Luca? Jeremy Grant should definitely go up. He had 23 and 6. He's really been good for them. Anthony Simons coming back from the foot injury, struggled shooting, but did have 25 points. He was 9 for 20 from the field, 4 for 12 from 3. Wasn't falling, but we know he can get buckets. Damian Lillard, who I mentioned, came back from injury, struggled a little bit from the field, but it's Damian Lillard. You got to guard him all the time. 19 and 6 for him. Justice Winslow has actually been playing the backup. He's here as a power forward. He's going to have to get switched. He's been playing the backup point guard role, and he's more of a small forward on this team this year because Trendon Watford is taking the backup power forward minutes. So Winslow, 6 for 8 from the floor, 12 points. Just plays good defense and gets guys initiated in the offense. Shaden Sharp, only 5 points off the bench for them. I like this Blazers team to get the play in, to be honest. If not, maybe a little bit better. If Dame can keep staying healthy and push these guys forward. The Miami Heat, I'm worried about. Reason being is Jimmy Butler, 16 points, didn't shoot it efficiently. Yes, Tyler Hero didn't play in this one, but I'm just a little worried. Like Kyle Lowry shot better in this one, looked a little bit more efficient with 15, 7, and 8. What's up, Rob and Nia? It's interesting because Kyle Lowry looked washed previously, and he looked okay in this one. So it's kind of like, is it an effort thing? Bam Adebayo, 16-5 for him. Um, so they got an all-around effort, but this power forward spot with Caleb Martin starting there, they've got to figure out how to get Jay Crowder or something to get a better look at that spot. They essentially need Oladipo back to be their bench scorer as well. Duncan Robinson had 9 off the bench, 3 threes. And then Gabe Vincent has been okay. In my opinion, a little bit less efficient than last year. 15 points for him. Dwayne Dedman played the backup big man minutes with 10 points. It's not enough to beat the elite teams in the Eastern Conference. So Miami's going to have to figure out how they can get another piece or two in there, especially for the front court, maybe even a back court option if Oladipo's not able to come back healthy. We'll see. Speaking of not being healthy, the Toronto Raptors took on the Chicago Bulls. Um, it seems to me like maybe some fatigue is happening with DeMar DeRozan. The last couple games, he hasn't been as efficient. Only 9 points in this one to go with 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Patrick Williams had 10.6 rebounds. Nikola Vucevic, 15 and 13. He's been really killing it on the boards this year. Zach LaVine, 30 points, 5 assists. Shot it well. Ayu Dosunmu started at point guard, 12 and 4 for him. Goran Dragic definitely has turned it around this season. Hopefully, he gets another little bump, maybe in the ratings. We'll see what happens with him. Not much else off the bench. Like Derek Jones Jr., 5 for 5 from the floor. Mostly just getting inside for easy baskets, things like that. Alex Caruso struggled again, really kind of honing in on playmaking and defense more so than anything else. He actually played the backup 3, 2, and the 1. So he kind of played all 3 positions in this one in various moments. The Toronto Raptors, another guy that's not healthy is Pascal Siakam. Unfortunately, he's out at least 2 weeks, if not more. But that was okay in this game because Fred VanVleet picked up the slack. 27 points, 4 assists. Shot it really well. Gary Trent Jr., who's been killing it so far this season, 19 points. But one thing I want to note with Gary Trent Jr., for those that aren't aware, he still has a 61 perimeter defense. He also has 60 help defense, and defense consistency is 35. This is ridiculous. This has been there since last season. 2K refuses to update this one. Even though I've passed along feedback multiple times, it just doesn't get looked at. You can at least give him a 75 on defense, if not higher, because if you're giving VanVleet an 80 on defensive consistency, why is Gary Trent Jr. only a 35? That doesn't make any sense to me at all. But Toronto Raptors get the win in this one. Next game, the Boston Celtics defeat the Memphis Grizzlies. In this one, Jason Tatum has just been electrifying all season. He was again in this one. 39 points for him. I would not be shocked if he goes up again another point in the ratings. Jaylen Brown, 21 points, 9 rebounds. He should go up, I think, to an 89 personally. Marcus Smart, 15 points, 7 rebounds, 12 assists. He should be bumped up ahead of Malcolm Brogdon. Nothing wrong with Brogdon. He's been ultra efficient. He had 8, 10, and 4. But I think you got to separate Marcus Smart and Brogdon by at least a point. Al Horford, 15.6 rebounds. He looked good in this one. And Grant Williams got the start for Derek White for size purposes. And Grant Williams didn't do much. 2 points, 5 rebounds in this one. Sam Hauser's in the rotation as well. I'd like to see Sam Hauser get like a small bump, at least ahead of Justin Jackson, who doesn't play. And then Blake Griffin's got to go down. He's out of the rotation. He's not the Blake Griffin from 2-3 years ago. You've got to knock him down in the ratings for sure. The Memphis Grizzlies, of course, get a good game out of John Morant with 30 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists. Desmond Bane, 19 points for him. Desmond Bane's one of my favorite players. 19, 5, and 5 for him. Dillon Brooks is one that I could see traded at the trade deadline. The way he shoots this team out of games sometimes is very alarming. 13, 7, and 5 for him, but I'm just not impressed by Dillon Brooks at all. That's just my personal opinion. With Steven Adams didn't play in this one, so Brandon Clark got the start. Brandon Clark had 10 points, 8 rebounds. He's been really good as the backup center this year, kind of playing ahead of Xavier Tillman. John Conchar with 12 off the bench. That was kind of the highlight. Jake LaRavia played ahead of David Roddy in this one off the bench as well. So, like I said, Boston, good win for them. They've been rolling. The New York Knicks defeat the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Knicks get a throwback Julius Randle of 2 seasons ago, 31 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists. Look good shooting the 3 ball, 8 of 13 from the floor. RJ Barrett also had a good game. It's usually when one has a good game, the other one doesn't. Good to see Barrett have a good game in this one, 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Jalen Brunson, 23 points, 8 assists to go with 5 rebounds. Obi Toppin has been electric again. Didn't shoot it the greatest from the floor, but had 15 and 7 in 26 minutes. Evan Fournier, just a note, Evan Fournier is pretty much at the bottom of the rotation now. He's still in it, but he's getting less minutes. Jericho Sims also started this game, and Tom Thibodeau likes his speed and his defense. It's good that 2K actually paid attention to Jericho Sims' speed because his closeout speed is what Tom Thibodeau really likes as far as his team goes. I still think 80 is a little high, especially for a center. When we've got guards in the low 70s, something's wrong when you're putting centers at 80s and still have guards in the low 70s. Definitely need to fix that for sure. But looking at the Minnesota Timberwolves, they did not have Rudy Gobert in this one, and I think that was the difference maker as far as rim protection goes. Karl-Anthony Towns had 25, 13, and 7, 38 minutes for him. Anthony Edwards, 16 points, struggle from the field. 14 for D'Angelo Russell, struggle from the field, but he had 8 assists. And then hardly anything out of anybody else, to be honest, and that was a difference maker. I think Gobert just helps protect the rim, but it puts Karl-Anthony Towns in a bad spot, only staying on the perimeter a ton. So they've got to figure out how to remedy that going forward for sure. But Knicks take it 120 to 107. Next game, the Denver Nuggets. This Spurs team that they played is definitely a lot better than people, including myself, gave them credit for. I like Trey Jones for sure. Trey's going to have to go up a little bit more in rating. He's been ultra efficient getting guys in their spots. He had 20 and 9 in this one. 22 points off the bench for Josh Richardson, who's basically playing the backup point guard role, hybrid guard role as well. 30 points from Keldon Johnson. He's looked good when he's been able to stay healthy and on the floor. Jakob Poeltl struggled shooting, or didn't shoot much in this one rather, but rebounding, had 7 rebounds, 9 assists. He's a trade candidate potentially. Poeltl needs to go up to at least an 81. I don't know what 2K is doing. They refuse to update him time and time again. I don't get it. He gets ignored despite giving feedback multiple times that, hey, he's highly underrated. What's going on? They just, seems to me they don't want to look at it, to be honest, for whatever reason. Devin Vassell, who I'm high on, 17 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. Looked good in this one. As well, the Denver Nuggets have got to figure out 2 things. They've got to figure out their defense, and they've got to figure out their bench scoring. Like, they had Bones Highland with 14 off the bench now, but usually they're not getting much out of this bench. Christian Braun Didn't play much in this one. So it looks like he's kind of trending backwards after a good start to the season. Jamal Murray did play in this one. 19 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Looked okay. Um, Jokic, of course, always looks good. 26, 8 and 10, and then 24 points from Michael Porter Jr. Really looked engaged in this one. 24 and 6 for him, and that was a difference maker for the Denver Nuggets to defeat the San Antonio Spurs, 115-109. The Brooklyn Nets take on the Dallas Mavericks. This was the game of the night for many people that a lot of people were planning to tune into. Luka Doncic is the MVP. You could have Tatum right there if you really want to, if you were going to kind of mark it down right now. Luka Doncic, 36, 6 and 6 in this one. He needed help, though. Spencer Dinwiddie can't go 1 for 8 like he's been doing. They're not getting the spark from Christian Wood. I blame that partially on Jason Kidd because how much does Christian Wood have to do before Jason Kidd actually trusts him with bigger minutes? Tim Hardaway Jr. went out with injury in this one. Hopefully he's okay. 16 points off the bench with Josh Green was what I wanted to highlight. Josh Green's shot looks so much cleaner. He looks just engaged on offense and defense. Really a good piece for them going forward. Another thing to note in this one, Dwight Powell started the second half for JaVale McGee, who's just looked awful this season. Another player that hasn't looked good is Reggie Bullock. Reggie Bullock's just struggling. Like defensively, he's okay, but offensively, it's kind of rough for him. We'll see what happens as far as that goes if Josh Green doesn't ultimately take that spot away from him eventually. The Nets, Kevin Durant had a chance to tie it. He missed a free throw late. And then that basically ultimately decided the game. He had 26, 4 and 4. Joe Harris started at the 2 guard and had 14 points. Nick Claxton, 10 and 14 for him. I'm going to go over to this side so I can just see it a little bit better. With Claxton, I think he should go up. Harris, stay about where he is. Ben Simmons looked awful again. Hey, Brandon, what's up, man? Appreciate the follow as well on Twitter. I saw that the other day, so appreciate that. With, what was I saying? Ben Simmons. Man, he doesn't want to do anything on offense, and defensively, he got crossed so bad by Luka, he fell and did like an Indian cross. It was bad. Just doesn't look engaged. Cam Thomas finally getting a chance to be in the rotation. Didn't shoot it efficiently, but was able to make up for it at the line, 7 of 9. Had 19 points off the bench, but it wasn't all Steve Nash for sure. Like Seth Curry's still coming back from injury, still getting a rhythm. Like you can't expect these guys to turn it around a ton. They did get good play out of Royce O'Neal, 15 points to go with 8 assists. He should go up in rating. They continually miss. 2K misses on these mid-range guys and the lower tier rotation guys. They just get like the main couple guys rated, and then they wait a long time to get these mid-tier guys. When me personally, I would get the mid-tier guys, go ahead and rate them, and then with the upper guys, be a little bit more conservative. So if you're not maxing out these upper guys and leaving the lower tier guys like Watanabe, Morris, like at a 72 when they should be around the 74 range. And then these 74s around 76s, especially Royce O'Neal. Sharp, like he's not, to me would be lower than Watanabe and stuff like that. So just my opinion there. We've got a couple more games to go in this one to wrap up. The Sacramento Kings lose to the Golden State Warriors. Steph Curry, 17 of his 47 in the fourth quarter. Controversial play. It's the second time this season Sacramento's had controversial plays. Clearly clearly Klay Thompson fouled Kevin Herter on that 3-point attempt. Um, it's interesting to me because Klay's one of my favorite players and obviously one of the best shooters of all time, good defender. They were going right at Klay Thompson constantly during this game and succeeding. Like Moses Moody, like I mean, him off the bench, I thought he was going to be able to be a complementary piece to kind of rest Klay a little bit, so Klay could ease back in. But I I feel like with the change in rotation, it's going to make it worse and put more pressure on Klay. And because now the rotation is Anthony Lamb coming in with Jordan Poole, Jonathan Kuminga, and Ty Jerome, that's not going to work. Like that's just not efficient. Klay did have 16, but defensively he's struggling bad. But according to 2K, Klay Thompson's a beast defensively. Like they refuse to touch his ratings. Like they don't want to touch the shooting rating. And then you get into the defensive ratings. His lateral quickness is not an 87. He had major surgeries. He can't even move right out there. It shows you that they're not wanting to knock down ratings for certain players. Klay Thompson is not an 85 defensively. His help D is not an 85. Pass perception is not an 86. You can knock all these down. Perimeter defense should be down to like an 80. Let's just go for you know for purpose. Let's say I put all these down uh, to 80 and see. So he drops to an 82, right? But if you were able to clean that 82 up and you put him at a starter caliber intangibles, he still stays at an 83. But then he's getting touched defensively um, properly, like rated. And then if you look at his 3-point shot, if you were to knock him down, even if you knocked him down to like an 83.3, he's still at 83 overall. So he's not even going down in rating. If you look at his defensive badges, let's see, defensive badges, he's got silver in some of these, bronze. Like, those are okay. Like, I would probably take down gold ankle braces, but the rest are okay. Like, they're not overpowering at all. But, I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to do the work with his defensive ratings um, to make it to where, like, you at least fault him for being a little bit slower in defense. Now, you could see where I knocked him down. I didn't, obliterate his defensive stats. I didn't put him at like a 70. Like I was casual, and it still kept him at the 83 overall. And so 2K can easily, use their intangibles attribute and then modify his rating to where they want to based on that. Andrew Wiggins had 25 and 10 in this game. Steph Curry 14, 8, 47, 8 and 8. Man, Curry is like one of my favorites all time. Like, long story short, my favorite shooters ever: JJ Redick, Drazen Petrovic, Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Ray Allen. Like, that's just for me. That's just the upper echelon of guys. Um, as far as shooting, who has to be better is Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole is best in his microwave role. He's not there to facilitate. Like, it's just not what he needs to be doing. Jonathan Kuminga has to be aggressive on offense. Like, it's just, they've got to get better output out of their defense for sure. Their bench is just horrific so far this season. But looking at Sacramento, interesting, I want to bring up a note. I've seen people with Keegan Murray. I'm a huge Keegan Murray fan. Keegan Murray's got something personal going on right now, so it's like I've seen a few reports where a lot of people close in Sacramento are saying just be lucky that he's even on the court right now. It's that bad, and so I'll be interested to see what comes out of what's going on. But you could tell his head's just not in. He's not smiling as much, things like that. He only had 6 points to go with 7 rebounds. Domantas Sabonis 19 and 14. Sabonis, I think they knocked down a little too much. in the ratings update. I wouldn't have knocked them down, as much as they did. Maybe a point, but not that much. Kevin Herter, only 11 points in this one, but De'Aaron Fox was efficient again. 28 points to go with 6 assists. Malik Monk killed it off the bench, 24 points. Really a spark. Davion Mitchell, 12 points. And Terrence Davis had 9 off the bench. But like I said, the big moment of this game was the three by Kevin Herter that would have tied it. And then they, um, did not call the foul call on Klay Thompson. They did not call the travel call last a couple games ago on Tyler Hero, and that cost Sacramento the game as well. So Sacramento just had bad luck when it comes to the referees so far this year. I'll say who's had good luck is the Utah Jazz. Really efficient effort again with Lauri Markkanen. He's back to playing the 4 because of the injury to Jared Vanderbilt. Didn't rebound it well, only 3 rebounds, but he had 23 points. I saw somebody mention earlier they've got to add badges to Markkanen. Yes, they do. That's a separate dev that's got to go in and update badges for players. In my opinion, they need to be updated just as regularly as the attributes get updated across the board. At least add and subtract badges league-wide in one update, and then do another update late in the season to see where you are with badges. But 17 points off the bench for Colin Sexton. He's been really good in that 6-man role behind Mike Conley. 22 points in the starting role for Jordan Clarkson. He's got to go up in the next update. He's been killing it so far this year. Talen Horton-Tucker, 15 points off the bench. Really makes you think the Lakers they don't know what they're doing with the front office. Like, you let Talen Horton-Tucker go, and he could have been a piece that worked for them. Maybe it just didn't work with LeBron. I don't know. But we'll see. Speaking of the Lakers, LeBron not playing in this one. So it's interesting. Yeah, Brandon, 23 points against Anthony Davis was good. Anthony Davis looked pissed off at the end of the game. 29 points for him. Hopefully he stays healthy. But more so, I want to talk about Russell Westbrook. They keep knocking him down every roster update. It's time for him to go up to an 80. Like, he's coming off the bench. He's been ultra efficient in the last 4 games. 22 points in this one, 5 assists. Like, they need to knock him up. Let's look at Russell Westbrook real quick. They still got him with an 80 dunk, but, is what it is. Let's look at, I'm going to kind of break away from the Around the NBA for 1 second just to look at Westbrook's shooting stats and see where he is so far this season. So he's shooting 35% from the floor. So essentially you would up him to a 79 there. His free throw is a 79, which you would need to update. And then looking at his shot IQ, it's been better. I would at least get him to a 70 for the shot IQ. That automatically right there bumps him to a 78, so that bumps him up a point. His offense consistency, he's been more consistent so far coming off the bench. So at least get him, in my opinion, to a 70. So that bumps him to a 79. And then if we're going over to look at anything else, you can't really adjust his intangible because it's already up there. One thing they do have to fix, knock his speed down and readjust. But I could easily just get him to a 79 without having to do much effort at all. So it's just interesting that 2K decides to constantly knock him down rather than bringing him up when he needs to get an increase. Their third guy, Lonnie Walker, didn't play in this one. Austin Reeves got the start along with Kendrick Nunn. Nunn poured in 18 points off the bench. I think Nunn should go up a point. I just like him as a scorer off the bench. And like I said, Anthony Davis is just, that's how the offense has just been going. Anthony Davis has been killing it. No Patrick Beverley again in this one. He's out with a non-COVID illness. They did take the time in the last update to update Matt Ryan. If you're taking the time to update Matt Ryan, you need to be updating Troy Brown, um, Austin Reeves, Kendrick Nunn, Lonnie Walker, Russell Westbrook. That's just my opinion. You've got to update those guys across the board. But the Jazz take this one 139-116. The Lakers have an easier schedule coming up, so I expect the Lakers to maybe get some wins. Um, at least maybe 3, 4 wins out of the next 7, 8 games could be attainable for them. Last game of the night as we wrap up around the NBA. I thought the Cleveland Cavaliers had this one. Um, the Clippers beat them 119-117. Um, Interesting to note in this one, the Clippers came roaring back. They held Donovan Mitchell very limited in the fourth quarter. Mitchell got off to a hot start. He was efficient in this one, of course. 30 points on 10 of 15 shooting. Darius Garland had 19 and 12. Looked really good in this one as well. Kevin Love off the bench chipped in 17 points. Evan Mobley, 26 points to go with 8 rebounds. And then Jared Allen rebounding the ball really well at 20 rebounds to go with 10 points. Those guys stepped up really well, but Jetty Osman didn't play much in this one. Isaac Okoro was in there for defense. Doesn't give them anything offensively, and that kind of hurt them, I thought. But the Clippers side of things, Paul George, another good game for him. I'll be interested to see what happens with Kawhi Leonard going forward, but Reggie Jackson's back to his normal self. Finally looks good. 18 and 7 for him. They dropped him the last update. He needs to go back up. They should have left him alone, in my opinion, because he was coming back from injury. Anybody that comes back from injury, I usually am hesitant on re-rating for a little bit. Luke Kennard didn't do much in this one. He had been the spark off the bench, but instead Norman Powell found his shooting stroke. 17 points off the bench for them. Terrence Mann got the start at the 2 guard. 16 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists for him. He looked good. No John Wall in this one, of course. So, be interesting to see with Kawhi because I'm scared that the report from Chris Broussard, who I'm not that high on, is actually accurate, that his knee's a lot worse with degenerative issues than we realize, and that's why they're being super cautious. Hopefully he's wrong and Kawhi's just resting to stay healthy for the rest of the year. We'll see. I missed one. Marcus Morris, efficient as always. He needs to go up. He's been efficient all year. 20 points for him to go with 6 rebounds. He's a little bit too low. Like Morris, Zubac, Covington, Batum, Jackson, Mann, Kennard are all too low. Like everybody in this tier is too low. They all need to go up at least a point, if not 2 for some. And then that would better put them in line. Paul George needs to go up in the next update as well. So definitely a huge slate of games for the NBA. What's interesting is there's no NBA games tonight. It's election night across the country, so they want to give everybody the opportunity to go vote. Whatever your political stance is, vote if you want to, if you want to see change in whatever area. But no games for the NBA, so there will be no around the NBA tomorrow. What I'm going to do instead is I did a stream yesterday that went over the roster update, and then I dove into a My NBA simulation, just fixing some things. So what I'm going to do for my video tomorrow is continue that series and really tweak some ratings and tweak some tendencies, stuff like that, to see if we can get better sim stats across the board for those My NBA simulations. So appreciate everybody that's watched this video that tuned in live. Hit that like button, please, 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 please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It just takes you a second to do that. Bo, I don't know about the missing historic draft classes as far as players in it. I've sent the feedback over. It's going on almost 2 months now. I have not seen anything added for the draft classes. Don't know the plan for that. Hopefully, I try to remain patient and not bug them about it, so I'm just waiting on the update to come out and see what happens. But please, like I said, like and subscribe to this channel. If you like this content, I'll have more 2K related content with the My NBA simulation tomorrow. And if there's any kind of major updates to retro stuff, I'll highlight that as always. But thanks for watching. Everybody stays safe, and I will talk to you soon.